Hi, welcome back, you beautiful souls, to a new series. Okay, unlike the last video, this one isn't actually going to have a like goal to continue. Um, but, and here's the key thing: if this what if gets 100 likes within the first week of it being out, then you guys will get the next episode. I will continue this one. This one I already have planned out the entire series. I had on and off been working on it for a while, and the series is called What If, well, what I have written down, and I will have a different title probably in the video's title, but what if Naruto had an elder half-sister? That being said, Kushina will not be his sister's mother. We'll get into that. But our story actually takes place shortly after the death of Madara's um, brother. Unbeknownst to everyone there, Madara's brother did have a child, and the child later would grow up, meet a woman, and they would have a child, and the child would be left at a at a village known for their seal masters and their red hair. The child would grow up in Ishikura, in the Uzumaki clan's homeland, with another protagonist of the story, Kushina. The two would grow up, become really good friends, and when Kushina is sent off, the elders decided to send the other Uzumaki with her, so that Kushina would have quote unquote family, but unbeknownst to everyone, it was to get there were already talks and plans through their spy networks that they could be attacked, and well, this special child, they wanted to make sure that she was out and would be in a place that she would be safe. So they send her off to Konoha. Because during that time, they were at peace at the time, and then later, war started up again shortly after Kushina got to leave, but that's neither here nor there. Years pass, the two find out about the fall of the Uzumaki clan, and they both swear that they would not do the CRA unless it was together. The same thing happens with Kushina and Minato, but shortly after they had gotten married, Kushina was feeling a little frisky and wanted to spice things up in their romantic life. So she talks to Minato, and they basically end up having a three-way with her best friend from Ishikura, or however you pronounce it, the Uzumaki clan, land of Whirlpool. This leads to Kisamoi getting pregnant by Minato. He doesn't end up marrying her, and everything is going fine with the pregnancy until the last month. Strange things start happening. Kisamoi starts having issues with her heart, and it's progressively getting worse. On the day of the birth of her child, Minato is sitting there, is holding her hand, and Kushina's there as well. And Kisumoi is holding her daughter, and she looks at Kushina and begs her friend to take care of her daughter and teach her the ways of their clan. And basically, because Kisumoi is dying, she's going to die very soon. Minato's just sitting there crying because he had planned to enter an act with them, because they had discussed it over the 9 months. But Minato is looking down at his firstborn, his daughter, and he asks Kisama, like, what she would like to name their daughter, and she says Kisana. Which, so years pass. Minato is able to get over it more because he wasn't as close. Kushina just views Kisana like every day that she gets older, she looks more and more like her old friend. And Kushina raises Kisana as though she was her own. And funny things have happened. When Kisana is about 2 years old, she starts walking about 6 months before normal kids. And around that time, she actually started talking as well. So a full year ahead of like everyone her age. They chalk it up to like being the child of Minato, who's a very intelligent person. So Kisana's early childhood is very, very thrilling. People in the village do assume that Kushina is the mother because, I mean, the red hair, and Kisana's looks almost like Kushina, but they can tell that it's the Lord Force kid. Because by that time, he had become a Hokage. So, when Kisana is like 3.5, 4 years, she's almost 4, shortly before, Minato is teaching Kakashi the Rasengan. And Kakashi isn't getting it, and Kisana's there as well, like just looking on, and then both Minato and hear Kisana like speak up, Daddy, Sankaki, look, I did it, I did what Papa's trying to teach you. And both Minato look around, and then Kakashi looks, and they see Kisana, a little 4-year-old, created a Rasengan that just blows up, kind of blows up. Minato obviously rushes over. Kakashi kind of, deadpan sweats, classic anime drop. Hits the ground, and he's like, I've been at this for months, and baby learned it. How? Minato gets over there. Kisana's okay. So over the next 6 months, Kakashi does learn it, and Kisana masters it. Mind you, she is like 4.5 at this point. And Minato had asked her that, do you want to go to the academy? Because you obviously would be able to do it. And she says, no, I'm gonna stay with Kassan. And help her out during her pregnancy. I mean, my little brother is coming, right? So ruffles her hair and says, okay, sweetie. So a few more months pass and everything, and the Night of the Nine Tails happens. Everything like that goes like in canon, but at the time, Kakashi is actually watching Kisana through, basically Minato asked Kakashi to watch his daughter while he's dealing with Kushina, and Kakashi is distraught because then the Nine Tails happens. Nine Tails attack happens, and he sees Minato flash away with the Biju bomb. And then, because he arrives, he flashed in with young Naruto, puts him down, flashes out, and then the masked man comes out and gets Naruto again. He disappears. Kakashi runs out and tells Kisana to stay, but Kisana doesn't listen and follows. When they get separated, Kakashi can't find Kisana. He's freaking out again. And Kisana doesn't know what's going on, but things had started to slow things around her, like her time perception started to slow down. No, not yet. And when she's sensing like her father's chakra and like the Biju's chakra out in the woods and starts running towards it, because she also feels her mother's chakra as well. And then the little boy, like she knows his little brother's there as well, and she's like, I gotta save Naruto, kind of thing. And when she gets there, like on her way there, she noticed that the Nine Tails had just impaled Kushina and Minato, and she just blasts out, like her chakra erupts. And Minato and Kushina like begin to freak out, so Kushina just, without a question, flash steps to their daughter and sees her eyes, doesn't think about it, and her daughter passed out. They get there, the Nine Tails is sealed, and Kisana wakes up and she sees like blood all over her. Her dad had already passed. Her dad was already dead, and Kushina was sitting there with Naruto, and she just looks at her daughter and is like, "Promise me, Kisana, look after Naruto. Make sure he grows up into a young man. Lord Third, take care of my kids." Kisana doesn't know why she said that, and she freaks out. Like, she hears a thing and immediately grabs Makune off of her mother's pouch and is like just standing there in between her brother and the person that just came through. When she sees who it is, she relaxes. And unlike in canon, so Kisana just witnessed the death of her parents, her mother. See, Kisana does know that Kushina isn't her bio mother, but she does know how she was brought about, because they had that talk with her before. I mean, for Christ's sake, she's a genius. She's a genius. Like, she started talking at a young age. She started walking sooner, and she even like basically just by listening to the steps was able to like do the Rasengan. So Naruto's early life changes quite a bit. He's still a pariah. He's hated by most of the village, just because he is the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. But unlike in canon, he doesn't actually grow up in an orphanage. He grows up in a house with Kisana and Kakashi stopping in from time to time. Most of the time, he's there as an Anbu, hidden, like kind of watching the kids, because, well, it's kind of hard to hide them, because Kisana refuses to leave her brother's side, and, well, every single time they've been tried to like be split up, let's just say some men that have tried are lucky to still be able to have kids, if you know what I mean. So they can't split the kids off, so they can't hide Naruto. So some of the villagers do notice Kisana carrying around like the little the demon brat on her back. They're wondering why. Like, the villagers are still so much stupid. It's like, hello, you have Kisana Namikaze, the Lord Force's like daughter, and she's carrying a child around that looks identical to Lord Force. How can you not know that that's his kid? So even more of a drag than canon. So Naruto grows up with a sibling. His childhood is still rough. He still does get dirty looks and stuff from the villagers. And an incident happens when he's about 4 years old, and Kisana would be about 9. She's off from like her duties because a few years before she decided to go to the academy, graduates in the first year, and then within the first after the first year being a genin, she becomes a chunin. And after the chunin exams, she asks Lord Third if she can become like one of his Anbu guards. All that happens, she gets like Anbu training, ends up meeting like another prodigy. Their story progresses, they're 9. Naruto ends up getting away from her and goes into a shop, and when she arrives, like the shopkeeper like is throwing stuff at Naruto, telling him, "Demon Brad, get the hell out of my store." Kisana basically blows up the store, causing like a lightning chakra, water chakra, and wind chakra, basically to cause like an explosion in the store, knocking out the person, destroying a lot of his stuff. And when Anbu and everything show up, they just hear this pissed off little girl saying, "You ever fucking touch my brother, I'll fucking kill you! Get the fuck away!" And Anbu with a dog mask like approaches, and he's like, "Kisana, what's going on?" And as soon as she turns around, Kakashi, like with dog, she's like, "Dog-san, it's not what it looks like. It's just they." You know you're in trouble, right? Kisana drops down. They get to the Kage's office. They report it. And yeah, she gets in trouble. She has to pay for the damages. And needless to say, no one really tries like attacking Naruto ever again. They still don't like say dirty shit to him, but they never speak ill word of him in front of Kisana because everyone heard about the shop getting blown up. A year passes after that, and Kisana finds a kunai in their basement one day when she's like goes down to get some extra scrolls and everything to practice Unjitsu. And yes, she has begun to taught Naruto this, but she's doing her own studies. And she finds like an old kunai of her dad's, and her eyes go wide because all records of it have been destroyed. There's nothing really written down besides the name of the technique and just guesses of stating that it's a teleportation technique. She's looking over the kunai and she vows to like master this. To like master this Fuinjutsu. Naruto does have a few friends. Mainly the Hyuga heiress is allowed to come over from time to time because of one time when Naruto got away, he stopped some bullies from hurting Hinata. But unlike in canon, the Hyuga person that finds her doesn't immediately like hit Naruto. He just bows to Naruto and says, "Thank you, Uzumaki-san." Yeah, like leaves when Hiyashi finds out about it, and Hinata like asks if she can see the boy that saved her again. He allows it because even he doesn't want Hinata to like get mistreated by association, but he also knows that Kisana if she was like hanging out with them, wouldn't let Hinata be hurt. So he was okay with Naruto and Hinata being friends. Naruto's also actually has a somewhat rivalry with Sasuke, because their siblings work together. They've been seen hanging out with each other, and from time to time, Itachi would be training Sasuke, and they would run into, the rare occasions that it does happen. One time they would run into Kisana at like training like Naruto. So Naruto and Sasuke develop a sort of a rivalry between the two, which later would develop into a full-blown friendship. So a year passes from that, and Kisana is about 11 years old, and that would make Naruto 6. And this is the night of Micah's birthday. This is the night that Kisana finally decided, told Hokage that she's got to tell her brother about the Nine Tails. So Naruto finds out on his 11th birthday and basically runs away. And Kisana is trying to find him, but she's like, damn it, I shouldn't have taught him Pervy Gigi's techniques so soon. And she hears an explosion, makes her way to it, and she comes across a few ninja and a few siblings attacking her brother. And something snaps in her. Her eyes change. She just feels pain in her eyes, and when she looks up, everything's in vibrant colors, as though it was mid of day, but everything's in color. It's not grayed out. And she says, "Get away from my brother!" She feels something on the back. She feels something on the back of her head, and she gets kind of knocked out. When she comes to, she's pinned down, and she just sees this guy coming down on her brother with a knife, and a burst of chakra happens. And when she comes to, she's holding Naruto, and there's 4 bodies strewn around them, so, most of them missing a leg, 2 of them missing their head, but they're basically dismembered. When Anbu and Lord Third arrive, they see what happens, and Kisana's just crying, and she's like, I didn't mean to. They were attacking Naruto, and I just lost it. I'm sorry, Lord Third. He walks over to her, pats her on the head, and she doesn't tell about everything. So after things settle down, she ends up looking over at the kunai using her eyes, because she doesn't tell anyone this. And this is about a month. I'd say this happens about a month and a half, about 2 months before the Uchiha massacre. She is telling Itachi that she's going to go take the Jonin exam, and Itachi is like, "You can't do that. They know who your father is, and you'll be a priority target. How can you?" And then she shows off the flying Thunder God technique. Itachi's eyes go wide, but he's like, "No, I can't let you go. No, you need to stay." So they get into a fight, and Kisana doesn't do it intentionally, but as he goes to stab her to kind of knock some sense into her, she unintentionally puts him into a genjutsu. Itachi does stab her shoulder, but in Itachi's eyes, um, and they had been fighting for about 2 weeks over this, and it finally came down to Itachi, like basically confronting her. They have their fight. Itachi, like in the genjutsu, actually pierces straight through her heart, and he's sitting there. He drops his sword, and his eyes begin to ache, and then morph into the Mangekyo. He's sitting there crying, and then he hears like Kisana like cough, and then like he realizes that it was a genjutsu, but he runs over to her, and he's holding her. He's just crying and everything. Shishui shows up, and he looks at Itachi. Itachi like has his Mangekyo flaring, and he's like, You did it! Why would you? She's hurt. You take her to the hospital. She's weak. She has. And as he calms down, he rushes over. He does like the medical ninjutsu that he knows, because I'm fairly certain Itachi and Zishui do know some medical jutsu, but they're not like masters of it. They know like basic stuff, kind of like Kakashi does. So he does end up healing like Kisana's shoulder. And when Kisana like opens her eyes, like Itachi's like is crying, and like he hugs her. And it's like, oh, please. And so the Shishui like tells her to channel chakra to her eyes, and Kisana realizes, and she's like, "Please, you guys can't tell anyone. If it happened, it would." Itachi and Shishui tell her that's just between them. So she flares up her Sharingan, and like they both like go wide-eyed. They're like, it's the Sharingan, but it's not at the same time. What is this, Shishui? I don't know, Itachi, but he tells Kisana to look at him, and he performs like a jutsu, a special type of transformation genjutsu. And Kisana's like, memorize it, and he's like, there, that should help you keep hidings. And then Itachi says, until you mastered those eyes, you should keep them a secret. Things happen like they do in canon, but Kisana leaves for a Jonin exam in a foreign country. This is to like showcase a few other things besides just the regular testing that would happen in the village. During this time is when the massacre happens. When Kisana hears about it, she knows she can't leave or she'll be ever deemed a Chunin, and she's also on a reconnaissance mission as well for a special mission that was made by Hiruzen. She realizes what had happened. So she just becomes merciless in her exams when she's fighting people. She slaughters everyone that comes up, and on her way leaving back to the leaf after being attacked by one of the examiners, which she promptly beheaded with her mother's blade, a black chakra blade that she learned how to use to like honor Kushina, and she mastered the Flying Thunder God technique. So we get back to like the village. They get reports from from the region that the exam was being taken place in. And, well, Hiruzen is kind of scared because he knows that she is going to be here any moment. When he reads that, he goes 3, 2, 1. And a flash of red light appears in his office. His Anbu guards jump down, but they already have, one's already sent into like the wall, knocked out. Another one is like knocked out by like a seal, and another one is thrown out the window, hitting like the building, and the other one has like a kunai straight to like their throat, bent down, and she just looks at Hiruzen. You're going to tell me why? Why did he kill them? Kind of like flaring up her Sharingan at Hiruzen. And this person can't see it because his face is kind of in the person's face is in the ground, and her kunai is like at his throat. If she moves, he's dead. Hiruzen like just sweat drops, and he's like, "This is why we sent you away. Let him up and I'll explain everything." He dismisses the Anbu who collects his 2 persons. Hiruzen puts up like the privacy seal and like an image seal, and he tells her to sit down. "Well, young lady, looks like you have some explaining to do too. That's why Itachi came to me and told me to like get you out of the village during it." Cut back to like a week before the massacre was to like happen. Hiruzen is talking with Itachi and everything. And Itachi says, "Well, Lord Third, if it comes down to that, Kisana's going to have to be out of the village because I won't be able to get away if she's here." Kind of like pointing to like his bag. And Hiruzen's like, "She marked you, didn't she?" "Yes, Lord Third." Well, that would complicate things. So they make the plans and get her out. The day before, like the night of the massacre, like the same thing happens with Shishui, Itachi saying that to like Sasuke and everything. And so Hiruzen basically explains that Itachi, like, about the whole Uchiha betrayal. And she's sitting there tapping like her kunai, like on like her palm, but that makes sense. I understand, but I would have helped. And why didn't you guys tell me I would have helped with that? You know, Lord, thank you, Simon. But there's also, and this is why and he explains that Itachi was sent on an SS ranked infiltration mission. Basically, he's known in the world as a missing nin, and he tells her, like, if anyone else finds out about this, I know who it came from, and you would be summarily executed for treason against the leaf. Because I know Itachi wouldn't say anything, and I'm definitely not going to say anything. This is a mission directly from me because of things aforementioned. So, that being said, we have a 12-year-old Kisana who has the Flying Thunder God technique and has a Sharingan that's different but the same at the same time. So, how has Naruto's life been? Like I said before, he grows up with a few friends. He has a rivalry with Sasuke, and he's friends with Hinata, but he thinks it's weird how every single time, like, he grabs her hand, she kind of faints and turns red. Kisana and everyone else around him, like, all the older people are like, he's so tense. And she has trained him. She has taught him that. But when Lord Third found out that she learned the Flying Raijin technique, she forbid her to teach Naruto the technique. Sting, blah blah blah, leave secret and stuff like this. And then Kisana rebels. Well, if I can't teach him that, I'm definitely going to teach him the Rasengan. There's nothing you can do about that, old man. My father is the one that invented it. After all, yeah, whatever. So Naruto has been taught the Rasengan, but not really. And she has started training him in Fuinjutsu. He can, at this point in time, when he is 2, 3, when he's 7, he can create like small sealing, like enough to seal like a shuriken in like a scroll. Like that's how big of an item that he can like store in a scroll. So like pencils and stuff like that. For school, he has like pouches for that, like through the school. His friendship with Shikamaru and Choji is actually stronger because his father was good friends with like the Nara clan head. And well, in this, Naruto knows who his parents are because obviously that's not something Kisana would hide from him. And he knows about like the Nine Tails. Has yet to like speak with it, but he knows why like the older generation kind of look at him in disgust, and some of the kids don't like hang out with him because the parents probably told them. But he does have a few friends. He obviously still loves Ichiraki ramen because that's something Kisana would also like enjoy, because that's where like when her dad was busy, that's where her mom would take her, like for like lunch outings and stuff like that. So that's just, that place holds a lot of sentimental attachment for Kisana, because it's something her and her mother would do when her mom was still around. And when Naruto like heard about that, he's like, that place is definitely my favorite. Definitely my favorite now. And he has seen Kakashi a couple of times. Could swear that he sensed him before the first time they officially met, but he doesn't know. And his academy life had been good, though he was kind of worried because Sasuke hasn't been in town, and every single time he goes by the clan compound, like, he's turned away by like Anbu and everything. Hinata has been worried about this too, and then like on his way home after like walking with Hinata back to her house, he feels like a brush of lightning behind his back, and he's like, "Hey!" And he turns around and jumps into like his sister's arms, and he's like, "Naruto." Everything Sasuke. And this leads into Kisana actually finding Sasuke in the woods, like training, and she approaches him. He throws a kunai, which she just catches with like 2 fingers, and she's like, "Good aim, but what did your brother do to you? Why would he do something like? Why did say that?" And she's glaring. She's like glaring her 3 tomos at Sasuke, and Sasuke is like taking like steps back, and she approaches him. Why would he do that? With like tears coming out of her eyes at this point. And Sasuke, he said he did it to test himself for power. How do you she realizes what she was doing and just closes his eyes and she's like, Sasuke, I'm sorry. She grabs him like, you're not alone. If you want, you can come stay with me in Naruto. And with that, you beautiful souls, that's where I'm going to end this part. I know this part was a little bit dry, a little bit different from how I normally do things, but if you enjoyed it and you want to see more of this, get this to 100 likes in the first week and you'll receive it. Otherwise, you'll have to wait a month before you can get the next episode. That being said, link to Discord in the description, and I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.